Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Salamangreat deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an extremely powerful deck to play this format because this deck just got some amazing support that increased the power level of this deck by a lot. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Salamangreat of Fire. This card is an amazing 3-of in the deck that's actually the Stratos of the deck. This card is actually a 1-card combo to get to your Link 4 monster, which is absolutely insane. That if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a level 4 Lord Salamangreat monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, but it does lock you into special summoning fire monsters for the rest of the turn, which is not that big of a deal because when you're going first with this deck, you're usually not summoning anything but fire anyways, and then on turn 3 when you go in for the OTK, you just don't summon this card. But this card also has a really insane effect that at the start of the damage step, if a Cyverse monster that you control battles, you can actually banish this card from your graveyard and destroy that monster that you control, which is a really cool ability to be able to use with this card to be able to pop one of your monsters on the field so you can bring back your copy of Raging Phoenix back out of the graveyard, which is a super cool ability for this card to have. We then play just a single copy of Gazelle. Gazelle is currently still at 1, but this card is amazing in the deck, and this card is what you usually search off your copy of Salamangreat of Fire, with a really cool ability that if a Salamangreat monster is sent to your graveyard, except a copy of Gazelle, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can send a Salamangreat card from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of this card, which is a great ability to be able to use to send your copies of Spinny to the graveyard or any other card that you might need in the grave so you can bring them back to your side of the field to extend your plays. We then play 3 copies of Spinny. Spinny's an amazing 3-of that it can actually bring itself back out of the graveyard to your side of the field and works extremely well with Gazelle because they are both level 3, so you can go for your copy of Mirage Stallion. But this card is easily if you control a Salamangreat card, you can discard this card to the graveyard, target a face-up monster on the field, and it gains 500 attack until the end of the turn. But if you control a Salamangreat monster other than a copy of Spinny, and this card's in the grave, you can actually special summon this card to your side of the field, but banish it when it leaves the field, which is a great effect just to be able to bring this card back to your field to extend your plays. We then play 2 copies of Foxy. Foxy is a good 2-of in the deck, but I only feel like you need 2 copies of Foxy because your main normal summon is usually going to be Salamangreat of Fire. And this card is great in the deck because when it's normal summon, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, add 1 excavated Salamangreat card to your hand. Also shuffle the rest back in the deck. This card also has a great ability if it's in the graveyard, and there's a face-up spell trap card on the field. You can discard any Salamangreat card from your hand to special summon this card, then destroy a face-up spell trap card on the field, which is great to combo in this deck to bring this card back to your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Jack Jaguar. Jack Jaguar is an amazing card in this deck, and this card helps out so much for your combos, because if this card attacks a defensive monster, it does piercing damage, but this card extends your plays by so much because it has the ability, if you control a Salamangreat Link monster, while this card's in the graveyard, you can target a Salamangreat monster in the grave, except a copy of this card, shuffle that target in the deck, and if you do, special summon this card to a zone that your Link monster points to, which is a great ability for this card to have just to extend your plays. This is what you mainly summon off your copy of Mirage Stallion to your side of the field so you can go in for some insane plays. We can then play a single copy of Falco. Falco is a 1-of in the deck, is fine, but this card is just really good in the deck to extend your plays, because if it's sent to the grave, you can target a Salamangreat spell or trap in the grave and set that target back to your side of the field, which is a great ability to be able to use. It can also bounce one of your Salamangreat monsters that you control back to your hand, and then you actually get the ability to special summon this card to your side of the field, which is a great ability just to bring this card back from the grave. We then play a single copy of Weasel. Weasel's really an insane card in this deck, and I really feel like 1 copy is totally fine. It never comes up that it's a tuner monster because we don't play the Synchro in this deck, but this card is great because if you have 2 or more Salamangreat monsters in your grave, you can special summon this card from your hand to your side of the field, which is an awesome effect. And if a Salamangreat Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, Exy, or Link monster is special summoned to your field while this card's in the graveyard, you can target one other Salamangreat monster in your grave, place this card on the bottom of your deck, and if you do, special summon that monster to your opponent's side of the field, then you draw a card, which is great to be able to give your opponent, say, a copy of Balinx that has low attack points, and then put this card on the bottom of the deck, and then draw a card to give you a safe target to be able to attack into with Raging Phoenix or your copy of Access Code, which is really good. We then play 2 copies of Flame Buffalo. Buffalo is good as a 2-of in the deck because this card reads like Pot of Greed, which is insane. Because if this card leaves the field, you discard any Cyverse monster, and if you do, draw 2 cards, which is a great ability to discard cards like your Jack Jaguar to the graveyard so you can revive it back later, your copies of Spinny that you were already going to discard, or even discarding your copy of Weasel to be able to get its effect off later, which is just amazing. The best targets to be able to discard to the graveyard is Spinny, your copy of Jack Jaguar, or your copy of Falco, because all of those cards can bring themselves back from the grave. Even Foxy is a good target because you can bring it back from the grave so you can draw 2. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's a great 3-of in the deck because this card helps you out a lot in this build just to stop your opponent from touching the deck. And you can also get this card back out of the graveyard with Sunlight Wolf, which is just super crazy. We then play 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is insane in this format at just locking your opponent down from searching for the rest of the turn, and it's absolutely crazy with this card. The only changes that I would make maybe to the monsters is I have considered dropping the copies of Flame Buffalo for copies of Triple Tactical Talents, and if you guys would like to try that out, that is a suggestion for you guys. I haven't play tested it too much yet, but I really think that that might be a really interesting thing for the deck to dig into the deck more, but for right now, I've really liked the copies of Flame Buffalo. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Salamangreat Sanctuary. This card is great as a 1-of in the deck, but you really only need a single copy of this card because it is searchable off your copy of Balinx. And this card just lets you reincarnate, you summon your monsters, basically letting you use one monster as a material for another monster, which is super cool, of the same name. So you can get bonus effects off of, say, your copy of Raging Phoenix, which is just absolutely amazing. I love that about this card, and it's super cool to be able to use that ability. And I love this card in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires is actually really good in this particular build, but something about Desires in this deck is usually this needs to be the last card you activate out of your hand. Do not activate your copy of Desires first, because usually you will banish your copy of Gazelle or your 1-ofs in the deck, like your copy of Salamangreat Sanctuary, and you don't want to do that. So you want to go in for your full combo first, and then finally activate your copy of Desires just to dig into the deck for cards like Droll Knockbird, Ash Blossom, Book of Moon, Infinite Impermanence, cards like that are stun cards and hand traps to be able to use against the opponent. This card is great in the deck because it's just a draw 2 after you've gone through your entire combo, but even if you banish your copies of Gazelle and your copies of Sanctuary, you can still go into plays, and this card does save you from time to time when you activate it, which is super nice, but you usually want to activate this card as the last card out of your hand. And with how consistent this deck is, it usually can be the last card that you activate because we have so many ways to get Salamangreat Fire, which is a 1-card combo. We then play 2 copies of Will of the Salamangreat. Will of the Salamangreat is kind of like Monster Reborn and Soul Charge at the same time with this card, which is absolutely crazy, but this card is a definite 2-of in the deck. I don't feel like you need 3, and I don't feel like 1 is enough. I really like 2 in this build, but it's a great card just to extend your plays, because during your main phase, you can special summon a Salamangreat monster from your hand or grave, and you also send this face-up card from the field to the graveyard, target a Salamangreat Link monster that you control that was Link summoned using a monster with the same name as material, and then special summon Salamangreat monsters from your hand and or graveyard in defense position up to the number of monsters of that monster's Link rating. So for example, if you have your copy of Raging Phoenix on the field, you can bring back 4 from the graveyard if this one was actually summoned with another copy of Raging Phoenix, which is super, super good. Essentially, soul charging back your cards. We then play 3 copies of Salamangreat Circle. Circle is insane. This card is basically the Rhoda for the deck. It lets you add any Salamangreat monster you want from your deck to your hand. It is a once per turn effect, but it also has a really cool ability that you can use during your opponent's turn if you want to, that since it's a quick play, you can set 1 to your side of the field if you open up like 2, activate 1 on your turn to search your fire, your Salamangreat of Fire, and then set the second 1 to your side of the field so you can get the other ability that is target a Salamangreat Link monster you control that was Link summoned using a monster with the same name as a material, and that link monster is unaffected by monster effects this turn except its own, giving you some protection for cards like Salamangreat Raging Phoenix, which is insane. We then play 3 copies of Cyanide Mining. Cyanide Mining is really good in this deck because it's just another Rhoda for the deck to help you get to your copy of Salamangreat of Fire, giving you like 9 copies of it in the deck, which is just super cool to be able to do. I love that about the deck and how consistent it is to get to your Salamangreat of Fire. We then play 3 copies of Book of Moon. Book of Moon is just really good this format and flipping your opponent's monsters face down, and I feel like this is the best option. I don't feel like you need Eclipse because Eclipse has too many drawbacks that if you can't break your opponent's board or they stop you midway through it, they're going to draw cards. Also can be ashed, which is why I just like playing Book of Moon over it in a lot of decks because I feel like this card is just better overall. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Salamangreat Rage. Rage is good as a 1-up in the deck because this card has a really cool ability that you can basically pop 4 cards on the field with this card's ability, plus it's searchable off your copy of Raging Phoenix. You do have to have Raging Phoenix on your side of the field to be able to pop those 4 cards, but that's absolutely insane because it lets you send a Salamangreat monster from your hand or face from field to grave, target a card on the field and destroy it, or target a Salamangreat Link monster you control that was Link summoned using a monster with the exact same name as a material and destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number of the link rating that monster has, which your copy of Raging Phoenix is a link 4, so you can pop 4 cards on the field, which is just insane to be able to activate midway through your opponent's combo and just completely disrupt their board. We then play a single copy of Salamangreat Roar. This is the Infernity barrier of the deck that actually can bring itself back from the graveyard, which is insane to be able to do to bring back your copy of Salamangreat Raging Phoenix to your side of the field. When it's on your field, you can just set this card back to your side of the field, but banish it when it leaves the field, which is a great ability to be able to use. And then finally, we play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is just really good at stopping your opponent's monster effects, and overall, it's just a fantastic trap, especially if you set it to your side of the field and lock down an entire column of spells and traps, which is just really good. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. This card is an insanely powerful boss monster. I love this card. This card has a really cool ability that if this card is link summoned using another copy of itself as material, you can add a Salamangreat card from your deck to your hand, which can be usually your copy of Roar or Rage that you're going to be adding from your deck to your hand of this card's effect, to be able to end your field with a pop 4 or a negate, which is just absolutely crazy. I love that about this card, and it's just such a powerful card. It also has the ability of a face-up fire monster you control is just from a battle or by card effect. While this card's in the grave, you can target one of those monsters and special summon this card, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to that monster's attack points, which if a copy of this card is destroyed on the field and you reincarnate summon it by summoning it using itself, you can actually bring it back to your side of the field because one was destroyed on the field, so the one in the graveyard will bring itself back to the field with 5,600 attack points because it'll gain the attack points of the destroyed monster, for a really cool example for this card, which is absolutely insane. But you can only use that effect once per turn, but it's still really good because it makes the card extremely sticky to deal with, and it's really cool. We then play a single copy of Access Code because this card helps us OTK our opponent because we can make it go up to 6,300 by using a copy of Raging Phoenix as the target in the graveyard, and it just comes out absolutely massive, and you can actually pop like 5 cards in this deck with combos, which is absolutely insane because you play every single attribute except Light in the extract, so it's very easy to do that with this card. We then play a single copy of Decode Talker Heat Soul because this card basically is Pot of Greed. You draw 2 off this card, you draw 1 during your turn by paying 1,000, you draw 1 during your opponent's turn by paying 1,000, which is just really cool because it's basically just a free draw, which is insane. We then play a single copy of Transcode. Transcode is great in the deck because it's basically Walking Monster Reborn. We play 3 copies of Sunlight Wolf. Sunlight Wolf is like the MVP of the extract. This card is insane because it helps you recover Gazelle back out of the graveyard, which is just really good. Because if a monster is normally special summoned to a zone this card points to, you can add a fire monster from your graveyard back to your hand. So you can even bring back your copy of your Ash Blossom to your hand, Ram or Gazelle or anything that's like really good for combo, this card has got you, which is just really, really good. We then play a single copy of Update Jammer. Update Jammer lets your copy of Access Code attack twice, which is insane. One copy of Splash Mage. This card is also like Walking Monster Reborn for your combos. 3 copies of Balinx. Balinx is really good in the deck. It's a Link 1. It's really good in the deck to be able to search your copy of Salamangreat Sanctuary, and also can protect your Salamangreat cards that would be destroyed by battle or by card effects by banishing it from your graveyard instead, which just gives you some protection if you've already used your copy of Raging Phoenix's effect this turn. We then play a single copy of Link Decoder. This card is really good in the deck to be able to link summon your copy of your Access Code, or usually your copy of Heat Soul, so you can bring this card back from the graveyard onto your side of the field. Because if this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a Cyverse Link monster with 2,300 or more original attack points, you can actually special summon this card from your graveyard but banish when it leaves the field, which is a great ability to be able to use with this card to be able to bring it back to your side of the field when you link summon Heat Soul to your side of the field, which is just amazing. We then finally play a single copy of Mirage Stallion. It's the only XZ you need in this deck, and this card is amazing because it detaches a material in this card and then special summons a Salamangreat card from your deck in defense position, which is just amazing to be able to do to get your copy of like Jack Jaguar to your side of the field, so you can basically use it as a Link 2 because you link it away once and then bring it back to your side of the field, which is amazing to be able to do, and I love that about that card. But also has the ability, if this XZ summon card is sent to the graveyard for the Link summon of a Salamangreat card, you can target any monster on the field and return it back to the hand, which is great if you're going second. You usually don't use the effect going first, but it's really good to be able to bring out Jack Jaguar from the deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have not played Salamangreat before, it's the perfect time to be able to pick up this deck. This deck is going to be amazing, this format, and it's just really, really fun, especially with the amount of like hand traps you can play in the deck. It's just really, really great. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely be on the lookout for test hands. And we'll see you guys in the next one. See you later, guys.